The question that is being raised here is, can the High Court temporarily stop a process that the Constitutional Court has instructed Parliament to carry out?
That the President has not made out a case for an interim interdict.
I'm trying to understand how this isn't a case of the High Court directly overturning a Superior Court's judgment. But the same rules that govern Parliament are not the same rules that govern a court. The court operates in strict accordance to the law. Remember, Parliament makes the laws. People forget that.
This is the political show.
Hey, and welcome to the Political Show right here on Active FM, where radio has never been better. I'm your girl Cynthia, but you know you can call me Gigs, and with me in studio we have
Gavin Ensslin.
Pastor Gavin Ensslin, right here on the Political Show, where Christ politics is.
Hot politics.
Hot politics. And this week's Hot Politics, we are discussing a constitutional debate in terms of Phala Phala.
There was a rule that had been created that allowed Parliament not to continue with the impeachment hearings, and the Constitutional Court said that that rule was unconstitutional, so it was struck down. As far as I, as a layman, and I'm not a lawyer, but you know what, sometimes you know, don't tell me that the laymen don't understand things, because the law's supposed to put into practice what the average person in South Africa thinks. And in my view, if the Constitutional Court has ordered Parliament to go ahead with the impeachment process, I don't see how High Court can stop the impeachment process. Because even if the report is placed on review or whatever, so what? There's massive questions that need to be answered here by the President. I mean, that's just a fait accompli in terms of the law. I'm very confused as to how the High Court could interdict the Constitutional Court, and that's basically what we're going to be going through this. Am I right, Gigs?
Yes, this is what we're going to be speaking about. This is going to be a hot show, as always, right here on the Political Show, where Christ politics is.
Hot politics.
Hot politics.
This collection marks a pivotal shift for Preach Closet. Moving from heavy graphic prints to a refined minimalist aesthetic. It draws from Ezekiel 37, where the prophet speaks over dry bones, and they rise into a vast army. This collection explores restoration and structure. Just as the bones were brought together with sinew and flesh, forming a body, each garment is built with intention. The cut, the silhouette, the fabric, letting the body of the clothing speak for itself.
Before we go into discussing the topic, let's go through a timeline of events with regards to the Phala Phala case, in case you do not know what's this Phala Phala issue is or what the case is all about. But basically, on the 9th of February 2020, it was stated that burglars broke into President Cyril Ramaphosa's Phala Phala game farm in Limpopo, and they stole an estimated $580,000 in foreign currency hidden inside a couch. Okay, so that already, the fact that he had money inside a couch.
Okay, I just wanted to, if I can just mention their Gigs.
Yes.
Some of the reports that I heard, you know, the figures raised from like $580,000 to $5 million. So I did have figures of 5, so I'm not sure exactly how much was stolen. I don't think anyone does know.
Yeah.
But some have claimed it was $5 million, not 500,000.
Yeah. So that obviously started some raised questions and a whole lot of stuff and things. But then not only was this money stolen, but the incident is not reported to the South African Police Service. And then on the 1st of June 2022, the former State Security Agency boss,
So now I
Arthur
think
Fraser.
if it's over 100,000 rand, the law says you have to report it. Am I right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah, and I'm still questioning that law, but I mean, if the law says that, then you have to report it.
yes. Then we have in 2022, on the 1st of June, Arthur Fraser files a criminal complaint publicly exposing the robbery and accusing the president of money laundering, kidnapping, or corruption. Then in November 22, a parliamentary Section 89 independent panel led by former Chief Justice Sandile Ngcobo concludes there is a prima facie evidence that Ramaphosa may have violated the constitution. Then we had in December 2022, where the ANC uses its parliamentary majority to vote down the panel's report, successfully blocking an impeachment inquiry. And then between June
But that
and
was
August,
under rules that they just voted into place in Parliament.
Yes,
It was a new rule that they created that allowed them to vote it down.
yes, yes. And then between June and August 2023, the public protector clears President Ramaphosa of executive ethics breaches. The South African Reserve Bank finds no exchange control violation, stating that the underlying Buffalo sale transaction was never legally completed. And then,
Sorry, can I just say,
yeah,
we did a show not so long ago about how SARS just takes money, the Sovereign Reserve Bank just takes money out of people's accounts when it even has a suspicion that there's wrongdoing. And now they find no problem here with Cyril.
because they say that the transaction was never legally completed.
I'm telling you now, Gigs, if you had $500,000 in your couch, SARB would be coming after you.
They would. They
You won't get away with this.
Yeah. And
Okay,
then,
you'd have to become Cynthia Ramaphosa.
yes. And then in May 24, South Africa had its national elections, and the ANC loses its absolute majority but forms a coalition government re-electing President Ramaphosa. And then in October 2024, the National Prosecuting Authority announces it will not press criminal charges against President Ramaphosa due to a lack of prosecutable evidence. And then moving forward to November 24, where the EFF and ATM challenged the 2022 parliamentary vote blocking the impeachment inquiry, bringing the matter to the Constitutional Court. Now, on the 8th of May 2026, the Constitutional Court rules that Parliament's 2022 vote to set aside the panel report was unconstitutional, and the Apex Court orders the National Assembly to refer the report to an official impeachment committee. Then on the 14th of May, Parliament formally established the impeachment committee to investigate the president. Then on the 12th of June, the criminal trial of the actual farm burglary suspects is postponed to the 5th of August in Modimolle Regional Court for closing arguments. However, on the 24th of July, which was not too long ago, the Western Cape High Court, yes, grants Ramaphosa an urgent interim interdict. This temporarily halts the parliamentary impeachment proceedings. And
Now, sorry, if you just listen to what you said,
yeah.
if you listen to what you said earlier,
Yes.
okay, the Constitutional Court ordered that Parliament had no right not to consider that report.
Mm-hmm.
So now Ramaphosa says he's going to bring a judicial review of the report.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is the review of the report is supposed to happen in Parliament,
Yeah.
according to the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to understand how this isn't a case of the High Court directly overturning a Superior Court's judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Constitutional Court specifically found that Parliament had to take that report. They were constitutionally bound to take that report through the impeachment process as specified in the Constitution, and that the law that allowed Parliament to set it aside was unconstitutional. So, you know, how the High Court could come to this conclusion unless there's something nefarious going on, because as I look at the law, this is not possible. I don't know if you agree or disagree.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. So obviously the question that is being raised here is, can the High Court temporarily stop a process that the Constitutional Court has instructed Parliament to carry out? So obviously this is causing a big debate in terms of the Constitution in in South Africa. It's causing a debate in terms of who has the final authority.
How many people are arguing that the court can do this? Because I haven't heard any. Do you know of anyone that's arguing that the High Court can do this?
No. A lot of people are actually shocked at the whole, how it's unraveling and stuff. Obviously, this is a case from 2020.
Can I just ask, sorry, Gigs, do you know of anyone that isn't shocked? You said it's a controversy.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as I'm concerned, it's like a few judges, Ramaphosa, his close friends, maybe some guys in the ANC against the rest of the country. That's my impression. Is my impression wrong, or do you have the same view?
I have the same view, yes. Yes,
okay.
I do. Yeah. So so like we mentioned, so the key takeaway is, or when we look at the whole thing with regards to the Constitutional Court, and I think Pastor Gav also mentioned this in the beginning, we basically have 5 levels of the justice system in South Africa. All right, we've got our district magistrates courts, and they usually deal with like minor cases and civil cases, and
if you call, I mean, you can go to jail because of a magistrate's court.
Yes, you can. I mean, you can.
Is it minor?
Well, depends on the severity of the case. Let me put it that way. And then you've got your regional courts, which deal with your serious criminal cases. They're the ones that also deal with things like divorce and higher value civil matters.
When you say is that the High Court?
The regional courts.
The regional court.
Yes.
Okay.
So they will usually deal with civil cases that have a higher monetary value. All right. And then you've got your high courts. Now, your high courts deal with serious criminal and civil cases. For example, Phala Phala. They deal with appeals from the magistrates' courts as well. And then you've got your Supreme Court of Appeals, who hear appeals from the High Court. And then you've got your Constitutional Court, which is the highest court and the final authority on constitutional matters and qualifying appeals.
Isn't there a Supreme Court as well?
Oh, yeah, I did mention Supreme Court of Appeal.
Is that there's no other Supreme Court?
No.
Okay.
Not according to...
No, that's fine. No, I'm not an expert at gigs. I'm asking.
Yeah. But if we look at these
So the Supreme Court, was the highest court before this constitution was created in the 1990s, which then put into place the Constitutional Court.
Yes.
So the Supreme Court was always called the Supreme Court of Appeals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So the Constitutional Court basically, according to how the structure of South Africa is the final authority when we're dealing with these situations, with civil matters, with constitutional matters, with all of these things. So what a lot of people are confused about is that if no one, including the president, is above constitutional accountability or above the Constitutional Court, then why does the High Court think they have the authority to override what the Constitutional Court basically says? So can the High Court do this? Can the High Court overrule the Constitutional Court? And if the High Court can overrule, or if this sets a precedent to say that the High Court can overrule, how many other matters similar to this will not be dealt with? Pastor Gav, what are your thoughts on those questions?
Yeah, obviously the argument that the president's lawyers and some of the questions that some of the justices were asking is they're saying that the Constitutional Court did not validate the report.
Yeah.
Okay. And in terms of this whole thing, I'm not 100% sure about the legal standing for President Ramaphosa to take the report on a judicial review.
Mm.
Now, there was a retired judge that was involved already.
Yeah.
So there was already a review that took place. And then obviously the report found that there was a prima facie case to answer. And looking at that now, as I understand it, it's now up to Parliament to review the report. It's Parliament's job to review the report. And the ANC created a rule in 2022, a parliamentary rule that allowed Parliament to put it to a vote at as to whether to continue with the process or not. So now what's supposed to happen is there's supposed to be public hearings. And Ramaphosa's lawyers are then supposed to, in public, attack the report and cross-examine the report.
Yeah.
And then different witnesses are called, and all of that sort of stuff, but in a transparent way for everyone to see. Ramaphosa is doing everything in his power to avoid going through that process. And now the court has said that the judiciary must first review that report, because they're saying that Ramaphosa has a right to have that report reviewed because it's going to cause him embarrassment. Now, for me, this isn't right. As I read that ruling, the Constitutional Court said that Parliament had to review this report. That's as I understand that ruling. Any legal arguments or wording and all of that kind of stuff, at the end of the day, this report was produced in accordance with the law, and Parliament has to go through the proceedings that are laid down in the Constitution to do an inquiry into this report. The Constitutional Court ordered as such, and just looking at the Constitution, I felt that was in line with the Constitution. I also felt that the Constitutional Court probably delayed the outcome for such a long time in order to not to avoid having to state the obvious. But now what has happened is that the EFF and the Africa Transformation Movement, ATM, those two parties who originally challenged Parliament's decision in court, which went to the Constitutional Court, and then we waited so long for the Constitutional Court to come out with its judgment, they have appealed to the Constitutional Court and arguing that the interdict inappropriately limits Parliament's constitutional duties. There is a separation of power in South Africa. As far as I'm concerned, the courts cannot rule the parliamentary processes.
Yeah.
And the only ruling about the parliamentary processes was the fact that the Constitutional Court said that Parliament could not go against the Constitution in terms of hearing this report. So obviously a lot of what you spoke about there came from the podcaster Bonsai Shongwe. And he really did an awesome historical take, on the whole Phala Phala thing. But then in addition to that, what Seaform Porfu Welsh from SMWX also did this week, he spoke about this thing, and he spoke about the whole argument revolves around the president's challenge regarding the evidentiary standard. And they're distinguishing between prima facie, whether it's a prima facie case or whether there's sufficient evidence in terms of the evaluation of the panel's finding. And that's what he's doing in the judicial review. In my view, looking at this judicial review, I'm not sure that these judges won't find in the president's favor, which would be a concern.
Yeah.
Now, what Sifo and Porfu Wellstein did on this SMWX podcast, and I just want to check when this was. I think it was on Wednesday. He spoke about the possible political scenario. And, there's obviously different scenarios that might happen depending on whether the president wins or loses the review. Now, his view is that even if the current report is set aside, the Phala Phala matter is unlikely to disappear completely. And it could lead to a new parliamentary process, or it could lead to motions of no confidence. Obviously, there are questions that a party like the DA has to answer. They were totally against what the ANC did in 2022. And the DA now has the power to actually force this issue in Parliament.
Mm.
You know, and I mean, Parliament even now has the power to do a motion of no confidence. If there's enough support in Parliament, a motion of no confidence could be tabled in the President. So how a court can set this aside when the Parliament even has the power to kick the President out? I don't know. This, we've always said, Gigs, that South Africa should not have a Ministry of Justice. We should have a Minister of Injustice. We do not have a justice system. Some of the commentary I looked at after that High Court ruling, I think many people woke up to the fact that there's a serious lack of justice in South Africa.
Yeah. I think this is like a continuous pattern that we see, obviously, with the impeachment on Cyril Ramaphosa with the Phala Phala case, and looking at the Madlanga Commission as well, how there's always temporary people can't come and testify, or they can't appear before the commission. And this is just a continuous cycle that we see in terms of justice in our system, where the people in power aren't really answering for the questions that the people in South Africa have. And I think this is why it also causes a debate to say what is really going on with the justice system in South Africa, because nothing is, well, a lot of things, let me not say nothing, but a lot of things are not, a lot of questions are not being answered. And where is the accountability in the justice system? And now looking at this, especially with what ATM and EFF are doing, they're basically trying to say, they argue that this case is about protecting the authority of the Constitutional Court, and the decision that they make could set an important legal precedent, not president, precedent in terms of the justice system in South Africa. So this is a very serious matter. It's something that if you're into politics, if you're into the system, how South Africa works, and our so-called, what's the word? We are a what nation? Where you can freely vote?
The democracy.
We are a democracy. I even forgot that we are I'm joking.
I'm thinking some heavy like academic, what word, and I'm thinking what you're saying sounds like democracy.
The fact that I can't, I'm joking. But I really
well,
am
we're
joking.
a constitutional democracy.
Yes, please do not hold me to that whole thing.
No, we won't. We need to forget it as soon as possible.
I need to say this in public so that, someone hears me say something, and then next minute you hear Cynthia's being arrested because they say that we're not a democracy. But also, like, if you're into the democracy of South Africa and stuff, this whole matter, the way it's being dealt with, and whether or not the appeal from EFF and ATM will be heard is very important to set a legal precedent. Pascal, what are your final thoughts on this whole situation?
Just some of the things, that the President argues that the panel misconstrued its mandate by applying prima facie test, whereas he contends parliamentary rules require them to meet a stricter sufficient evidence standard to prove impeachable misconduct. And I'm asking why. The second thing is evidentiary evaluation. He argues that the panel erred in how it weighed the evidence. He claimed they relied on inadmissible materials, such as evidence provided by Arthur Fraser and illegally obtained videos, and failed to assess or give sufficient weight to his own version of events. A lot of the rules in court, to me, don't apply in Parliament. Ramaphosa is the President, and he's accountable to Parliament. He's put into his position by Parliament. Parliament is the only body in South Africa that has power over the President. And Parliament has the power to remove him. And so all of these rules about evidence and that, if Ramaphosa is on trial, yes. But the thing is, in terms of that, the rules of Parliament are not the rules of a court. But the interdict now has disabled Parliament, and they can't continue public hearings. I'm not sure if the majority of South Africans would be happy about that. And so what you got now is a case of Cyril Ramaphosa's rights versus the country's rights.
Yeah.
And some of the lawyers were actually arguing that the courts need to also protect the public, not just the president.
Mm.
And so now the people's parliament, because they are representatives, cannot continue with these hearings. And you mentioned that word democracy.
Mm.
And the thing is, the reality at the end of the day is Parliament is, Parliament exists based on democratic rules.
Mm.
And that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And the rules of the Constitution state that if the president is accused, of things like this, a report must be created, and then an impeachment process, as defined in the Constitution, must be undertaken, and the hearings must be public.
Mm.
And then Parliament is to decide if this is impeachable conduct.
Yeah.
All of the arguments about evidence and stuff like that need to be raised in Parliament. And Parliament needs to decide if evidence is admissible or not.
Mm.
But the same rules that govern Parliament are not the same rules that govern a court. The court operates in strict accordance to the law. Remember, Parliament makes the laws. People forget that.
In Ecclesiastes chapter 12 verse 14 it says, "For God will bring every good deed into judgment, including every hidden thing, whether it is good or evil."
Yeah, so this is the thing. At the end of the day, when you bring things into the light, then you find out, is there really a problem or isn't there?
Mm.
So, looking at that now, the reality at the end of the day is that, Parliament needs to do its work, and a court has stopped them. And if things are not brought into the light, that's a big part of the problem that has happened in South Africa. If you just look at the Madlaga Commission, because there's secrecy, a lot of people get away with crime under the cloud of secrecy.
Mm.
And everything is national security. But the thing is, at the end of the day, all right, things need to be done properly. And obviously, during the course of an investigation, there has to be secrecy. First of all, your criminals can take out witnesses. There's all sorts of things that can happen that can be to the detriment of the case. But once they have a case, it's supposed to go to the prosecuting authority, and it goes to court. Once it goes to court, it's a public process.
Yeah.
And the court case is decided in public with a court record that everyone has access to. It's the same in Parliament. Yeah. And so, looking at these fancy legal words, I am not hopeful that the courts will leave that report unscathed.
Yes. This has been an amazing show, as always, right here on The Political Show on Active FM, where radio has never been better. I'm your girl, Cynthia, but you can call me Gigs, and with me in studio we have
Gavin Inston.
Pastor Gavin Inslin, right here on The Political Show, where Christ politics is
Hot politics.
hot politics.